No, I think the judiciary has had many challenges over the years, and we all know about it. It was discussed even during the time of the making of the new constitution. But there was a process of transforming the judiciary that was ongoing. And like I said, it's very important that we retain this institution. The institution is not Gladys Shollei. As a lawyer, I would like the judiciary to work. For the sake of my children, I'd like the judiciary to work. And that's why today, I will do everything to make sure that the judiciary follows the law. Because if they don't follow the law in my case, forget my case, it's already done. I've been fired. But what happens to other Kenyans when they come to that same court system? What happens to those young people who have recently been sent on forced leave for nothing also, over 25 people, who have nothing to do with my office or with Gladys Shollei? So I'm also fighting the impunity of a group of people deciding to disregard the law and then to be able to victimize anyone they want. And the Constitution is clear. No public officer should be victimized.
Right. You've been here on the show before,
yes.
and you came and talked about the reforms. You showed us pictures of the state of dilapidated court buildings. What went wrong? Because for a time, you were the darling of the judiciary.
Yes.
The Chief Justice came on our show, to, singing your praises. Between then and now, why this spectacular fall from disgrace? Fall into disgrace, rather.
Believe me, I was in total shock, even myself. Up to now, I haven't understood. And that is something I'd like to ask them. I've always asked what went wrong. But what I say is that the judiciary is very different from the Judicial Service Commission. The Judicial Service Commission is like the Public Service Commission.
Yes.
Okay, so the Public Service Commission, yes, recruits the PS in the Ministry of Energy, but it does not supervise that PS in its day-to-day. The same thing with the Teacher Service Commission. So you must remember that the two are separate, the judiciary and the JSC.
Okay.
Everything was working okay. For me, 17th of August, I still look back and say, what happened? I can't even understand it myself.
Let me ask you a very direct question. You are going back to that judiciary.
Yes.
Do you have confidence in the judiciary? Forget about the JSC.
Yes.
The judicial.
Yes. I mean, I think there are men and women there who still believe in the rule of law. And I trust that they will follow the law because the law is very clear. But I also said, as many people have told me, oh, you won't get justice. But I said, no, I owe it to myself to at least go. If I don't get justice, at least I will always say, I tried and I went before the court.
Rather than going to court, why don't you wait for the anti-corruption body, authority, to do its job? And then it clears you.
So that they are separate processes. Yeah, that process is separate. Because even if that body clears me, they can't just give me a letter serving me to clear me. I still have to compel the JSC to now receive that evidence and to receive my evidence in order to reach a decision. So the processes are separate.
You have demanded that you want a public hearing, inquiry into your tribulations.
Yes.
Why so?
Because it's public money. It's public money. Wouldn't you? You're a taxpayer. Wouldn't you want to know what happened to your 2.2 billion that they say disappeared? Also, most importantly, already it was in the public domain. Remember, when I was suspended on the 17th of August, when I was out of the country, it was announced in public. The resolution was sent to all media houses saying there is a corpus of allegations against Gladys Shollei. I was not even in the country. I'd never known there was such a thing. And then the next time again, they came back and announced on the steps of the Supreme Court in public. So you see, once it went into the public domain, then it is not possible to now say you're going to hear me in private.
No, let me clarify that. It is possible in this respect.
Yes.
The proceedings that sent you on disciplinary, resulted in disciplinary action were not public.
Sorry?
The announcement was public,
yes.
but the proceedings were not public.
They were made public. They were published by the nation.
The decision was made public, but there was no public hearing, as in journalists were broadcasting these or anybody was in the room, right?
The first item that went public was the first letter sending me a compulsory leave, and it said there is a corpus of allegations. There were no specifics.
Yes.
Then the second one, again, said a corpus of allegations.
Yes.
Then the third time, now when I was back in office, after the court compelled them and said, you have to follow due process, they then gave me a set of allegations. When they gave me those set of allegations, we agreed that they would they would not be public at all. But a week later, it was published 2 pages spread by the Nation, Daily Nation. So already it became public. So after that, and I remember I came out and I said, I have a confidentiality agreement that we said we want, so I'm not going to answer in public until we reach that stage. But by that time, it was too late. So of course, if you leave the allegations out there without the members of the public hearing my side of the story, there'll always be a wonder, did Gladys steal or not steal? So for me, it's mission critical that I have to be heard in public.
What about these buildings, Elgon?
Yes.
Mombasa, in the coast, Milimani, where even some of the judges are refusing to operate from.
Yes.
What's all that about?
Yes, that's another one. There is a building in Upper Hill, Elgon. I think that's the one the Court of Appeal judges have declined to move in there. That was advertised through the newspapers. People bidded. It went through the entire procurement process and the tender process. Eventually, it was awarded to this to Knight Frank, or the company that was bidding for them. And then what eventually happened is, and then we checked within the price market index, it's 90 shillings per square foot. There was no problem at all with that procurement. There was no appeal against it. Once that was procured, the first allegation was the building belonged to my husband. You know, I wish it did, you know. So after we were able to confirm that it actually does not belong to him, the next issue was that there's radiation. And what I did when I was told, I said, okay, maybe there is. I asked CCK and NEMA to give us a report. They both cleared it. Later, it was alleged that the report was not accurate, the one from CCK. And for me at that time, I said, do not worry about it. Let's wait for another independent report. If it is true there is radiation, it's very simple. You just compel CCK to decommission the masts, or another option is to make the landlord refund the judiciary, because if they gave us a wrong report on the issue of radiation. And remember, the whole area, there is a lot of residential buildings, so it's not going to be a case of the judiciary alone. All those people who live around there. So it's a very simple issue to resolve. I didn't even understand why we're arguing about it.
The issue is about the payments made. The rent paid upfront 9 months. We said, of course,
6 months.
6 months. Of course, that is the convention. You pay deposit, you pay rent.
Yeah.
But it's alleged that a lot of these payments were made long before even the building was ready for occupation. You do that when you're moving in. You pay rent and deposit, and you're getting into the building next month. Not a building that is incomplete, so much so that it's the funds from the judiciary that are being used to actually put up the building in the first place, which is what raises impropriety allegations.
Okay. David, you'll know that the building was complete and the judiciary rented it. Once the judiciary rented it, we need to customize it to fit. Because no building is built as a courthouse unless it was your building. Yeah. So it needed for the partitioning to happen, isn't it? When you take an office, don't you pay rent, enter, then start the partitioning process, especially if the building is not being given to you ready. Yes. So we paid rent starting January, but we got 2 months grace period from the landlord, you know, in terms of waiting. And then during that time, you customize it. Nobody will allow you to move into their building, start partitioning it when you have not occupied it. And the only way to occupy it is pay the deposit, pay rent, move in. Then when you're partitioning it, it's your building now.
It's like, Shollei, you're operating, you and the other people in the JSC, you are operating like you're living in different countries. When Ahmed Nasir was here, he said that he didn't even know that you are renting a building in Mombasa. They didn't know, the JSC did not know. And if they know for sure that the members of the commission, they know that you are renting a building at Elgon Place and you are going to partition to customize the building, why would they turn around and come and accuse you? I thought you were not working, although you are independent as the chief registrar. I thought you were supposed to be operating in tandem with the other people.
Yes, and that's also that's what I'm saying, it's a very strange state of affairs, and that's why we wanted to have witnesses, because you'll be able to confirm that on the 15th of January, I remember, we presented to the JSC the pictures and the drawings of the customization of that building. We showed them how, in fact, they even gave suggestions. We want an advocate's room, we want to have a waiting room here, you need to put this, make this bigger. And it was presented by our architects, Jomo Kenyatta School of Architecture.
But you see, this is long after
even that has a problem. But even that has a problem, because apparently you were using the JKU cut and they had no valuation license. Yeah? Yeah.
No, Jomo Kenyatta.
Never mind that you have a valuation service within the judiciary itself.
What do you mean, the valuation?
The valuation office within the judiciary, but you went outside.
No, we don't have any. You see, when I joined the judiciary, Ministry of Public Works used to be the ones who supervised our projects. We had disappointments, like you know, in Milimani. So after that, we said, who else can supervise our projects? And you can go either to university, the public organizations. You can either go to Nairobi University, or you can go to Public Works, or you can go to Jomo Kenyatta. We approached both Nairobi University and Jomo Kenyatta. Those are public institutions. And the payments that they charge us is according to the Quantity Surveyors and Architects Something Act. There's a remuneration
schedule.
List, yes. So Again, this is a public institution. It's not a private institution that we were paying. And they are licensed. And this, because remember, the School of Architecture has a pool of engineers, quantity surveyors, etc. So there were
the trouble with that procurement of Elgon Place is, as you just said, on 15th or so of January, you brought this to the knowledge of the JSC about the architectural redesign, you know, the modifications to suit your purposes.
We have JSC minutes.
Okay, that is at the point it appears when the JSC got to know about this building. Apparently, the whole process of procurement, searching, identifying, paying the deposit and rent, and acquiring the building, the JSC was kept in the dark until this point.
No, actually.
Until this time when now you're saying this is what we're planning to do.
I think they've
to
confirmed that they
the
didn't know
building.
about it.
No,
It
no.
was
Did they know
advertised.
about it from the beginning?
Yes, and we advertised.
After advertising, were they involved?
Yes. Even it was advertised in the newspaper, it was public. Also, remember, it's in our printed estimates.
Okay.
In our budget.
Actually, David is right, but there's a slight nuance to that they were unaware of the procurement of the Mombasa
the Mombasa
building, and which was a red flag, and which is when they began to investigate you, feeling that if you were so brazen as to go and procure this building, there must be other violations, and so that's when your troubles began.
Yes. No. First of all, no building in Mombasa has been procured. Okay. What happened is we had already decided that there was not going to be any Court of Appeal in Mombasa. It was instead going to sit in Malindi, where we had an empty building. But what happened is when we appeared before the Parliamentary Budget Committee and the Legal Affairs Committee, I remember many lawyers in the Legal Affairs Committee said, Gladys, but why don't you have a building? Why did you move Court of Appeal to Malindi and not to Mombasa? Because that's the bigger station. I then said, it's because we don't have the money, but we have an empty building in Malindi. So we're just utilizing that asset that already the government had spent 6 years building. So they said, no, we think we've heard from the Mombasa lawyers, they're complaining, we think you should have a building in Mombasa. I then said, give us the budget. And they told me, how much do you think it will cost? It's on the Hansard of Parliament. And we were together with the entire team from the Judiciary. And they said, and I remember it was moved just on the floor, that they think the estimate is 900 million. But remember, when they give you an estimate, it's an estimate. It doesn't mean you spend that amount of money. So it is budgeted for, and it is in our printed estimates. Court of Appeal, Mombasa. What happened is, thereafter, in fact, shortly before we got the budget, because the budget had it had gone through the committee stage, but had not gone to the full house. Myself and the president of the Court of Appeal, Kihara Kariuki, we traveled to Mombasa. We met the Law Society branch of Mombasa. And what they said to me is that, we had even suggested to the Judicial Service Commission that there is a building belonging to Post Bank that probably the judiciary should buy. Because usually in government, the first people you try and buy from is government. Because it's government to government, is so much easier. It's almost like a book transfer. So I said, that's interesting. JSC never told me about that building. So I said, who's the contact person? And they gave us the contact person. We contacted them to just ask if there was such a building so that we can start the valuation, whatever. It never even happened. So we only had the first meeting asking, tell us about the building, give us the drawings, give us the title deed so that we can start the process of valuation. So we had not bought it. And the money
did you at any time go to Mr. Abdullahi and say that we're buying this poster building for 900 million shillings? No,
I did mention to him that I told him, the lawyers told me they told you about the post building. How come you never told me about it? Then he said, no. You don't have to think about it. So
talking about
and so we haven't bought any building.
Talking about Ahmed Nasir, do you have any personal differences? Because he's talked about you have talked about him. What is this that is so much between you and Ahmed Nasir?
I think we should ask.
And not other members of the JSC.
No, actually, we did ask him.
Yeah,
we did ask him.
I've never had apart from the areas that I've outlined in my report where I had issues with him, I actually don't have anything else personal against him. And so I've never understood, even when he moved the motion in Mombasa, that Gladys has bought a building, which was not true, because up to now the money is still in the budget, and it's probably being returned anyway, because it was never spent. I don't have any problem.
Well, this is Cheche, live on Citizen TV. We're hearing from the former Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Gladys Shollei. If you've got any questions or opinions for her, the SMS number is 22422, and the Twitter handle is @Cheche_TV.